And despite those setbacks on the inward 9, there he is, still tied for the lead, and still a day to go.
On the tee, Tom Watson.
Sunday, July the 22nd. Perhaps a day for history, because Watson's won 5 Opens. One more will tie the 70-year-old record of Harry Varden, and he's now, in most of our minds, the favourite. Yet the presence of Baker Finch at his shoulder is evidence that nothing is certain. And 2 shots played in front of him at this first hole serve as a reminder that this, as the poet said, is a tyrannising game. The first comes from Lanny Wadkins, the American. Overnight 4 under par and 7 off the pace. And the second comes from Langer, the German. 9 under and just 2 behind the leaders. And playing with Langer today, there's always Ballesteros to reckon with.
Well, now, Seve, we saw him play pretty well yesterday. 14 pars, 3 birdies, just that 1-5 at the 17th. This from about 10 feet for a birdie 3 at the opening hole. And that must be considered an opportunity gone. He does not like it. But he has to remain 9 under par. Bernard Langer now 10 under as they move off the first green and make way for the leaders. The wind a touch more variable today. Ian Baker Finch first. And that has to hurry. Carries the burn, spins back. And that's desperately unlucky. And that's going to be a penalty stroke. Now Tom Watson's second shot. Watson going for his 3rd Open Championship victory in a row. And that hasn't been done since Peter Thompson in the mid-50s. Watson safely on in 2. Baker Finch about to, sadly, pick the ball from that watery grave. Keep that point between him and the flag. There's the adjudicator saying that's where it crossed. You must drop and chip back over the water. You don't drop it on the green side, dear. No, you come back here. And the ball dropped not nearer the hole. But this is his 4th shot. Prettily done. And that virtually assures him of a 5. It might have been a lot worse. But how costly is that second shot going to be come close of play tonight? Now Watson for a birdie 3. Well, a nice opening putt. He just tapped that in for his par 4. And that's good enough for Watson to take the lead because young Baker Finch still has this little putt for a 1 over par 5. So immediately, Tom Watson leads the championship outright. And down on the bottom there, the name of Lanny Wadkins. We'll be here, in fact, he's now gone 6 under. Here he is at the 6th, putting for a 3. And in it goes. 3 birdies in the first 6 holes, 7 under. Nice start for Watkins. And behind him at the 5th, we have Ballesteros. This hole a par 5, Seve's 3rd. Nips it up and lets it ease down the hill towards the hole. And that's a sweet little chip shot from Seve. He's had 4 straight pars today. Langer playing with him, bogeyed the 3rd and is now back to 9 under. And meantime, back at the par 4 4th hole, Tom Watson still 11 under, Baker Finch 10 under. Baker Finch's second shot. And that's going to be a long way from the hole. Trouble for young Baker Finch here. Back to the 5th now, and Ballesteros. Tricky little putt. Starts to swing. Oh, yes. First birdie of the day. And Seve goes to 10 under par. Now Langer. But this putt is for his par 5. No. So that'll be a 6. And after that brilliant opening birdie, he slipped back after 5 holes to just 8 under par. Ballesteros 10 under, tying now for 2nd place with Baker Finch, who's gone well past with his first putt at the 4th, so has this for par. So that's his 2nd lapse in 4 holes. And when he's tapped this in, he will have dropped a stroke and gone back to just 9 under par. Now Watson. This also for a par. Oh, Alfie Files, Tom's caddy, can't believe it. Tom drops a stroke, and suddenly he and Ballesteros are tied for the lead. Back on the leaderboard, down there at 5 under, Nick Faldo. But in trouble at the short 11th hole. Plays a very fine shot indeed. Well, 76 yesterday, but going well today, and once more looking as if he's going to be Britain's best in this year's championship.
At the top, Baker Finch's heroics are sadly over. And a double bogey at the 6th confirms it. Watkins, who began the day 7 off the pace, is attempting what seems impossible. Langer struggles on the greens. But both still lurk, waiting for Watson and or Ballesteros to crack. Around the loop of holes at the far end of the links come significant developments.
Ballesteros at the par 3 8th. Oh, beautiful stroke. What a chance for a birdie too. Now Langer. Into the breeze, 178 yards. Also a superb tee shot. Langer had a few putting problems early on. And in fact, as we look at him lining up this putt, we see he's gone to the reverse grip. And that was a bit short and a bit quick, and it's not in. Not really anything to do with the line. I think that time Bernard struck it poorly. And now Seve. No mistake at all. And Seve takes the lead, possibly for the first time since he won the championship back in 1979 at Royal Lytham. And down there at 6 under, Greg Norman playing well ahead of the others. Here at the 18th, the final hole. A marvellous round going for him today. Now, if he can hold that one, he'll finish at 7 under par, and that will surely give him a high place finish. This for a 66. Oh, clumsy. No, a 67, which should have been a 66, but that's a finish of 282, 6 under par. And this young Australian who recently lost in a playoff for the US Open, well, I'm sure he's still going to finish here in the top 6 at St Andrews. And out at the far end of the course, round the loop, it's getting tighter and tighter. This is the par 3 11th, 172 yards with a deep bunker named Strath lying across the front of the green as the players pitch up to it. On the tee, it's Langer. Just birdied the 10th, as indeed did Lanny Wadkins. And another gem of a shot from Langer. Now Seve, can he match that shot of Langer's? An 8-iron. Downwind, of course, but Seve does not give it enough. He doesn't make it up the hill, and I feel sure he underclubbed. There it goes, back down the slope. Still going. What's he going to do? Is he going to putt it, chip it, try and use the slopes? He putts it. Look how long it takes to get up, but is it going to make it? Only just. Still Seve's turn. This now for a par 3. Oh, tried hard, but that's a 4, a 1 over par 4, and that must be, well, must go down as a costly error. And a chance for Langer. This for a 2. Will it keep its line? No, just falls away. But he'll get his par 3. And Ballesteros now once again in a tie with Watson, who's at the 10th. Now this hole measures 342 yards, and under these downwind conditions, Watson's driven the green, as Ballesteros had before. Seve then 3-putted. Now, don't tell me that could drop in for an eagle 2. No, but it's a certain birdie 3. And how quickly the fortunes of golf can change. Minutes ago, Ballesteros was riding high, leading Watson by 1. Now suddenly, he's 1 behind. Second shot to the 12th. Just a 9-iron for Seve at this hole, measuring 316 yards, and right at the pin. An immediate chance to get that stroke back. He dropped at the 11th. But first, Langer from below the ridge, playing 3. This a short par 4 hole. The wind is freshening, though, against and across the players on the homeward route. Oh, that's how it's been for Bernard over the last few holes. They're not just dropping. That's a par 4. Now Ballesteros for a birdie 3. And that really could be disaster for the young Spaniard. A real chance gone a-begging. That's how they stand. But even as we look, we hear that Watson's now in trouble at that same 12th hole. A rather over-ambitious, if not too wild a drive has put him into the bushes. It's unplayable. He's got to pick a spot where he can drop it. It's going to cost him a penalty stroke, and he'll be playing 3. I really don't know what Watson's thinking was here with a driver. And his third shot goes scampering to the back of the green. Well, a long putt now for Watson, if he's going to salvage a par 4, and that's asking a lot. I wonder what his thoughts are. Good line, but woefully weak and still a bit to do. A 5 for Watson, where he should really have got a 4. And would you believe it? This championship is again tied at the top. Watkins beginning to slip away. Baldo finishes 6 under, like Greg Norman. And we've just heard that Fred Couples has birdied the last hole to finish 7 under. And the amazing computers which monitor the Open also tell us, incidentally, that Fuzzy Zeller, the US Open champion, has finished 3 under, and Ben Crenshaw, the Masters champion, 2 under. Now back out on the course, what a situation. Watson with a putt for a birdie at the 13th, Ballesteros with a putt for a birdie at the 14th. Watson first. Oh, touche! Would you credit it? 2 putts, 2 birdies, still tied at 11 under par.
With such heady goings on at the top and this hazardous homeward 9, it's easy to overlook the efforts of the near-missers and the also-rans.
Lee Trevino at the final hole. And one last brilliant iron shot from Trevino, who's been on the fringe of contention almost throughout this championship, but never quite made it. 3 under par.
The veterans and the youngsters.
Ronan Rafferty, 20 years old, from Ulster. Putting for a final birdie. Oh, not quite. A 71, and what a fine championship he's had. 284 total, that's 4 under par, and assuredly a place in the top 10.
And behind, inevitably, the tension mounts. Ballesteros at the 16th. With a putt that, if holed, would have regained him the outright lead. Lanny Watkins, the 14th and 17th undid him, but he has a 69 for 7 under and a share of 4th place. And now, possibly, the crunch, because the 17th confronts Ballesteros.
Well, he's been over par at this hole every day so far. 461 yards, a par 4. And what a daunting drive over the outline of the old black railway sheds. You can go as far right as you dare towards the new Golf and Country Club. That's a safe line, way to the left. He's been over there the 3 previous rounds. Probably okay. But in the rough, I think. Now Langer. Much more to the right, but safe and true. So they're now approaching one of the most formidable second shots in golf, in the very shadow of the Old Course Golf and Country Club. To this green, with the bunker in the front and the road behind. All right for some up there on the country club balcony, but down here, well, Langer's second. Down the right side. Has he hit it too hard? It could go on the road. No, stopped very quickly on the top of the bank, and that'll leave him a long putt. Now Seve ponders. Lying all right, but not a very good line in over the bunker if he's going to go right at the pin, and of course the road and the stone wall waiting for him behind. Back on the tee, Tom Watson arrives and waits to drive. Seve's shot, about 200 yards. And believe it or not, that was a 6-iron, smashed with every sinew in his body. It digs in, it runs forward. It stops, and that's a bit of magic. A 6-iron from there is quite incredible. But first it's Langer to putt. Oh, a lovely pace, beautifully judged. And virtually certain of getting his par 4. Meanwhile, back on the tee, 461 yards behind, Tom Watson prepares to drive. And that's a brave or foolish line indeed. Could be out of bounds. Oh dear, oh dear. Is it in or is it out? Am I going to play 3 off the tee? No. He's all right. And up at the green, Seve prepares to putt. He mustn't take more than 2. A smooth stroke indeed. Right to the hole side. A little tap in, a casual tap in. A par 4, and Ballesteros stays 11 under. And as Langer prepares for his par 4, Seve looks back up the fairway and sees that Watson, having thought he might be out of bounds, is in fact in the perfect spot down the right-hand side of the fairway. He's got a 2-iron in his hand. Still tying for the lead. But Watson seems uncharacteristically indecisive, and I fancy if he's going to take a 2, he needs to play this very flat, pitching 60, 70 yards short of the green, using the ground and letting the front of this 17th green swing the ball up towards the hole. And that's a full-blooded hit from Watson, and he looks slightly agitated. Oh, disaster for Watson. That's over the road, up against the wall. Both features are integral parts of the old course, and there's no free relief from there. He'll have to play it as it lies, and that could be the end of Watson. But Ballesteros, oblivious of Watson's plight, as he walks up the final hole to survey and play his second shot. Just a pitch over the Valley of Sin. The fairways are very dry, bone hard. Seve nips it up beautifully. Oh, a gem of a shot. A chance for a 3. Seve's been having a bit of a lean time of late for him, but surely now he must have a slight scent of victory in his young nostrils. As back at the 17th, Watson has this desperately difficult 3rd shot to play. Just a jab and a punch and across the road and skips up the bank, and it could come back off that slope. But not really. And he'll have to hold that putt if he's to stay tied for the lead with Ballesteros. Seve at the 18th for a birdie 3. putt that will swing from right to left. Oh, what ecstasy. A birdie 3, a 69, 12 under par, a total of 276. A new record aggregate for an Open Championship on the old course at St Andrews. And it's surely going to make Seve the champion. But we'll have to wait a moment and see. Langer, also for a birdie. This for a 71. A fine birdie 3, a total of 278. Well, Langer's never won a major championship, and he won't win this one. He finishes 2 strokes behind Ballesteros, but what a great effort. So he'll go from 9 to 10 under. And now, Watson. He must hold this long putt to have a chance of forcing a playoff with Seve. This for a 4. No, it's still in view, and so that's a 5. Well, what a dramatic swing. A few minutes ago, he was tied with Ballesteros. Now, all of a sudden, he's 2 behind.
You could, I suppose, say it's the end of this entire gripping 113th Open. Watson's lone hope is for a miracle, or to be more specific, an eagle 2 at the 354-yard final hole. In today's conditions, he can't drive the green, though, knowing the man, one senses it entered his mind. The rest will be formality and informality.
Well, amazing crowds this week, more than 193,000. That's 50,000 more than the previous record. And for the first time, ticket sales topped £1 million. The prize money, an unprecedented 451,000, as Watson walks all the way to the pin to survey this second shot. Because the only thing that can save him now is if he can miraculously put this shot right into the hole. But not today.
And now it really is all over as far as winning and losing and records are concerned. For Watson, though, it still isn't quite the end.
He needs to hold this for a birdie 3 to take second place alone. No, it's not to be. A final round of 73 for Watson and a total of 10 under par. 278 and a great reception. He looked likely to keep his championship for much of the day, but at the end he shares second place with Bernard Langer, and Varden's record still stands. And now the final putts of this year's Open from young Ian Baker Finch. And he only needs 1. What a superb finish. This young Australian, who gave us such excitement on the first 3 days, has the last word. Ends up with a rather sad 79 for a total of 4 under par and a share of 9th place. We will always remember that 66 of his in the second round, commemorated there by the traditional Crown Jeweller's silver scorecard, presented every year to the man who first scores the lowest round in the championship. As for the higher placings, there they are.
And the winner of the gold medal and champion golfer for the year with a score of 276, Seve Ballesteros.
Seve Ballesteros is 27. 5 years ago, he won the Open audaciously. This week, he's triumphed by strategy, control, temperament and skill. St Andrews in 1984 witnessed his maturity.